Welcome back, little historians, to week 9. Today we're going to be talking about Virginia's resources, our natural resources, as well as some of those that are man-made, our industries, the products that we produce, and how that grows our Virginia economy. All right, let's get started. So we're going to be taking a deep dive into history and economics. And what will you need today? Or you're going to need your notebook, a pencil or a pen, your thinking caps, and of course your willingness to learn. And a smile would be great too. All right, so some vocabulary that we're going to review today. Natural resources. These are terms that you're probably familiar with already. We know that natural resources are minerals, water, land resources, and anything that we can use that comes from the earth that occurs naturally in our environment, and these things can be used for economic gain. Now, our needs are things that we have to have in order to survive. Some of those things are water, shelter, food, clothing. Those are really important things that we need to survive. And of course, oxygen or air. But our wants are things that we desire, but we don't necessarily have to have in order to survive. So I might, let's say, want a new iPhone. I can live without a new iPhone, but I might want a new iPhone. Sometimes we get the things that we want, and sometimes we can't get the things that we want. We have to weigh our needs and our wants. Now, our words for the day. The words today that we're going to be discussing relate not only to Virginia's products, industries, and natural resources, but it also relates to economics. The first word that we're going to talk about is scarcity, items that are in short supply. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later in our video. But the next thing that we're going to discuss a little bit is a cash crop. What is a cash crop? These are some of the crops that we have here in Virginia or anywhere that are used to make money. They're used to be sold for a profit. They're produced to be sold for a profit. And then agriculture. Agriculture is just a big word for farming. And then the last one that we're going to talk about is manufactured. So if something's manufactured, it's being produced at a large scale, usually in a factory, and usually, oftentimes, machines are involved in manufacturing things. All right, so the next thing that I want to call your attention to is this map. This is a map from the Agricultural Classroom website. And I've used this map several times before, but what it does is it kind of gives us an at-a-glance view of our state and some of the different regions and what products we can find in those regions. So for example, if we look at the Coastal Plain region, you see that there's seafood and corn that might be produced in that region. We look at the Piedmont region, we see poultry that might be produced in that region. So we see chickens, you see horses, cows. If you look in the Blue Ridge Mountains, I see fish. I also see pumpkins, and I don't see this on the map, but I know from my own experiences that the Blue Ridge Mountains it's a great place to go camping. There's a great camping site that I like to go to almost every year, if not every year, every few years, and it's called Loft Mountain Campsite. And it's in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and it's a great campsite. So a lot of people go to the mountains in the summertime and in the fall and in the spring to camp. The Valley and Ridge region, I see apples. I also see horses. I see cows. I see wheat. And then out in the Appalachian Plateau, I don't see a lot of products, but I know that in the Appalachian Plateau, one of the biggest products that can be found there is coal. And coal is something that is actually a natural resource. It comes from our earth. However, is it a renewable or a non-renewable resource? Sadly, coal is a non-renewable resource, and we use coal every day. Coal is some of the ways in which we get our energy and our electricity. We light our houses with that mineral. So it's so important that we try to be really, really considerate about the energy that we use, because as we use up our coal, it doesn't come back. It does not regenerate. So it is non-renewable. So we have to make sure that we are conserving that energy. All right, so agricultural products. There are a lot of agricultural products, and these are products that are farmed. And so if we look here, some of the bigger products, and these are the products that are considered our cash crops. These are the products that are bringing a lot of money to our Virginia economy. So what do I see here? I see corn, I see peanuts, I see tomatoes, tobacco. This is actually tobacco as when it's grown. So when tobacco is grown, it's a green leaf. Later on, when they're manufacturing it into a tobacco product, they will maybe dry it out and use it in different ways to make tobacco products. But this is how tobacco looks when it's grown naturally on a farm. And then I also see apples over here. And I know I love to go to Charlottesville and places actually in the Blue Ridge Mountains to pick apples every year. That's one of my favorite things to do. But some of the other agricultural products that are not shown on here, but were shown on the other map, are things like seafood, peanuts, we talked about that, poultry, I think I pointed that out. And if you don't know what poultry is, poultry, turkeys and chickens are all considered poultry. Apples, of course, dairy. Where do we get our dairy from? Well, we know that our dairy comes from our cows. That's where we get our milk, and our milk is what produces our butter and our cheese. Beef, which comes from our cows as well. Coal, of course, we talked about that, and tobacco. So those are some of the other agricultural products, or some of the things that we use our farms to produce. Livestock. Now, this is a picture of some of the different types of livestock here in Virginia. I see a cow here. I see some pigs. I see turkey, and I see chicken. And what do these things produce? What do we use these things to produce? Well, we know that we use cows to do a lot of different things, as stated before, for our milk, for our cheese, our butter, and also for beef. If you like to have a hamburger, a steak, anything like that, that's where that would come from. Now, our pigs, what do we get from our pigs? Well, oftentimes things like pork chops, ribs, those of you who love spare ribs, many of you who love pulled barbecue sandwiches. If you love bacon, that's where our pork products come from. Then our turkeys, they end up on our table during Thanksgiving dinner. And then, of course, our chickens. What do we get from our chickens? Well, we get our eggs, but we also get the chicken, the meat. All right, so those are some of our livestock. Then manufactured items. So we manufacture a lot of items here in the state of Virginia, but one of the things that is a big manufacturing industry, it's a big industry here in Virginia, is shipbuilding. We built a lot of ships in the Tidewater area. And this is just an example of I think this is a naval ship, the U.S. Navy. But this ship would have been maybe produced in the state of, in Virginia, in the Tidewater area, and used by the Navy. So those are some of the things that we produce here in Virginia. And then, of course, our non-renewable energy resource is our coal that can be found here in Virginia, and it is a naturally occurring mineral. However, it is not renewable, so we need to conserve it. Now, scarcity. Have any of you noticed that there are a lot of items that are scarce right now? They are in short supply. Have any of you been to the supermarket, or maybe you've heard your parents talking about going to the supermarket and not being able to find things? Recently, my husband went to Walmart to look for some things and came back and showed me a picture of empty cases where there used to be chicken and beef and other things. There was literally not one package of meat in this supermarket, in Walmart. So right now, we are really being faced with scarcity of some of our meat products. So some of our poultry items, our chicken, our turkey items, some of our pork items. bacon, pork chops, ribs, some of our beef items, hamburgers, steaks are scarce. And some supermarkets are even putting limits on the number of packages that you can actually buy. So they might say that you can only buy one package of chicken or one package of steak. So scarcity is something that is impacting us right now because of the current health pandemic that is going on. Now, this is an article that you can read on your own or with your parents, and it talks about, well, this one would really be something that you probably would need to read with your parents, but it talks about the pork shortage that's happening right now. And this is another article from Newsella that talks about the next topic, which is our shrinking freshwater resources. Now, our water resources are just as important as our agricultural resources. And this talks about our fresh water resources are currently shrinking, meaning that it's becoming more and more scarce. So we have a scarcity of water resources. Many people even talk about the scarcity that we have of land resources, meaning that we're overusing our land. So we don't have as much land to let animals live on. So we see that a lot of animals are losing their habitats. There isn't as much land for people to grow crops on. So we see farmers maybe are losing their businesses. So scarcity of land resources is an issue as well. And so you can take a look at both this Newsella article and this article from Kids Newsweek on your own and with your parents, and just learn about some of the current food shortages that we have because of the corona pandemic, and also some of the shrinking water resources. But we're going to look at that a little bit more today. So we're going to look at that in this short video about water conservation and scarcity and what we can do as responsible citizens to help conserve our water.
You've probably heard that in many parts of the world, we're in a drought, and these droughts affect everyone. Agriculture accounts for 70% of the fresh water used around the world. A drought means less water, less food, and more expensive food.
So we really need to think about how to help farmers and ranchers conserve water worldwide, especially on farms that use irrigation.
The good news is that farmers are already implementing really cool new designs to save water and to grow food more efficiently.
Conventional sprinklers waste a ton of water due to poor design. During the daytime, they just spray water over large areas of land, and a ton of this water evaporates into thin air. Farms like Fresh Run Farm are using smarter irrigation technology, such as drip irrigation, which targets the plant's roots and the soil.
That's a cool idea, and farms are using data to determine the best location for planting crops. By looking around at how much water there is and how quickly water evaporates from the soil, farmers are planting crops that are more likely to survive. With this new technique, they are increasing the amount of crop per drop.
With technologies like that and better management of irrigation systems, some studies say that we can save enough water to meet the household needs of 1.4 billion people.
So in that video, they talk about how our water resources are disappearing, but farmers and people are trying to come up with really innovative ways to conserve water so that we'll have enough water for each household to be able to use and for us to survive, because we know that water is one of those things that is a need and it's not a want. We need it in order to survive. Now, we talked about our natural resources that are found in Virginia. And some of those natural resources, if you could remember, what are they? Natural resources, products found in Virginia. What are some of the natural resources and products found in Virginia? That's right. Seafood, peanuts, poultry, apples, dairy, beef, coal, tobacco. Those are all of, well, not all of, but a lot of, many of the very important natural resources or products found and grown here in Virginia. What industries can be found in Virginia? Well, I know we talked about some of these, but I'm not sure that we talked about all of them. So let's see. Well, I know we talked about shipbuilding. Farming, we definitely talked about. Technology was one that we didn't talk about as much. And technology can be found here in Virginia as well. So there are a lot of technological industries that are located in Virginia that produce some of the things that we use every day. That could be cell phones, it could be from our cable companies, computers, anything like that. We also have recreation. Now, I talked about the fact that I love to go to the Blue Ridge Mountains to go camping at Loft Mountain. And guess what? That is a recreational activity. Other recreational activities are things like hiking. A lot of people love to hike. I love to hike on some of the trails here in Virginia, in Richmond and throughout Virginia. Recreation could be kayaking. It could be mountain biking. All of those things are recreational activities. Often we think about recreation as something like basketball and football, and those are recreational activities too, but so are things like camping and kayaking and hiking and mountain biking. All of those are recreational activities as well. Skiing. Tobacco products are also found here in Virginia. So our tobacco products are anything that can be made from tobacco. And we know that we have huge tobacco industries right here in Richmond. Altria is one of them. Tourism is a major industry here in Virginia. How many of you all love to go to places like Virginia Beach to go hang out, and lay out, and play in the water and the sand? Well, guess what? That is part of the tourism industry here in Virginia, as is something like going to Colonial Williamsburg or going to King's Dominion or going to Busch Gardens. All of those are tourist activities and they bring money into our economy here in Virginia. We also have federal military bases. We have some of those in the Tidewater area. There are many naval bases. There are other Army bases here in Virginia, and our federal and state government. So our state government is located here in Richmond, and our federal government, one of the bigger buildings being the Pentagon, is located in Northern Virginia. So those are some of the industries that can be found in Virginia. What are some examples of scarcity in our current economy and environment? Well, I know one that we just talked about. Let's see if we can get them all. We talked about a few. That's right. Poultry, pork, water resources, land resources. And I could even add up there on this list beef resources, because right now, all of those things are scarce. We are having a hard time finding these items every day in our supermarkets. All right, so Thursday's mission. Thursday's mission includes 2 interactive games that you can play that will review some of the things that we discussed today. So this first one reviews many of the things we discussed in this lesson on agriculture, some of the products, industries here in Virginia. And the second one talks a little bit more about some economic terms. It reviews needs and wants. It talks about scarcity. So these are just some good interactive games that you can play to review. But then we have our mission and our project that we are going to complete for the week. So this can be found in your lesson, and it says, imagine you are going camping with your family for the summer. I talked a lot about camping today, didn't I? I want you to research a recreational campsite in Virginia that you would like to visit. 1, I want you to identify some of the items you might need for your trip. What are going to be your needs? What will you need, absolutely need, won't be able to survive without for your trip? And I want you to make a list of those items. Then I want you to identify some of the items you might want to bring on your trip. What are some of the things that you might want to bring that you don't have to have, but you would love to have on your trip? And then for number 3, which items might be scarce right now based upon the current economic and health crisis? What items might be hard for you to find because of what's going on and what we see when we go to our supermarkets every day? So I want you to think about that. And in your lesson, there will also be a link for you to click on. So for example, there will be a Google form that looks like this. And you can actually, after you write your information down, you can list and put your information in this Google form. And what this will do is this will share the information with me. And I happen to love to give shout outs. So in some of my science videos, some of you know, I gave shout outs to Superintendent Cameras, and I actually included it in my video. So if you include this with your name, your teacher, and your school, just your first name, I would love to give you a shout out for completing Thursday's mission. Let's go camping. Well, ladies and gents, it has been awesome talking to you all today. I've enjoyed my time. I hope you have. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Our last week, week 10. I can't believe we made it. I can't wait to see you. And I want us to end the year strong. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.